It's time for another Dice Tower review from Gamers Remorse. Krosmaster Jr. is a grid movement, action point, and dice rolling game by Jap Anime Games for 2 to 4 players, best with 4, and takes about 10 minutes to play. Krosmaster Jr. is set in the Krosmaster universe on a desert island where the competitors washed up after the demons of the hours guided their raft to trap you. Now they have promised to release only one of you, the one who collects the most gallons of glory, through various adventures. Inside the box, you'll find various obstacles, shown as X-shaped cardboard chits, numerous gallons of glory chits, 4 double-sided interlocking game board pieces, 4 adventure tokens, 1 for each adventurer, 4 adventure notebooks, 1 for each adventurer. Inside each notebook contains the details of each adventure and game map, including the movement points and action points available to you. In this example, we set up Adventure 3. To set up the game board, you put the puzzle pieces together and align the grids accordingly. Then place the characters on the footprints on the map. Then place the obstacles on the designated locations, and finally place the gallons of glory in the designated locations. Then, the players all roll a Dofus die. First player to roll a Dofus symbol goes first. In this scenario, the objective is simple. Move 3 spaces and collect all gallons of glory that you touch. The player who collects the most gallons of glory is the winner. Overall, the game comes with 7 different adventures. The first 2 take on the basics of dice rolling and movement. Adventure 3 is an efficient movement puzzle game, and Adventures 4 through 7 focus on basic movement and engaging into skirmish tactics used in the Krosmaster Arena board game. Overall, this game can be a challenge and a lot of fun for 7 to 14-year-old players. But for other older players, this game serves as a training tool to educate new players on the basics of Krosmaster Arena. One handy bonus is that the 4 unique characters that come in this game are completely compatible with Krosmaster Arena, and for the collectors out there, this may prove to be a game you want to pick up specifically for that reason.
Brian, tell me what you thought about the look and feel of the game.
It looks fantastic. The miniatures that came in this game are unbelievable. Too bad you guys don't have a closer view of them right now. But there's 4 different heroes, all of them fantastic, pre-colored and everything. Then you have little pop-up chipboard standees that are really fun. It adds just another 3D aspect to the game that I really enjoyed, and I think kids would just go bonkers over. There are some like small chits that I could see kids tearing, chewing on, or losing. But I think that's a smaller problem that could easily be remedied with. I mean, they're kids, give them new chits. But I think the biggest drawback for this game for me was when punching out all the pieces, and it may have been specific to our copy, I can't be certain with that, but the did not come out easy and some of the pieces would tear. So you have a piece with part of the print missing because the punch board was just kind of soggy, for lack of a better word. But again, those are more finicky things. So I would give this 1.5 out of 2 for look and feel. What do you think, Sean?
Man, I gave it full points. And the reason for that is look at the miniatures. Look at the parts that a 7-year-old is going to look at. I mean, just look at the cute little toys. They're like Happy Meal toys. They're awesome. I don't know. I have a childhood nostalgia
Counterpoint. 8-year-old Brian was playing Scotland Yard, not Candyland.
8-year-old Brian was an anomaly.
My nieces are going to be playing like Arkham Horror by the time they're 4.
And having nightmares to match.
But I think I'm going to stick with 1.5. Balance and mechanics. What are your thoughts on the balance and the mechanics of this game?
I think that's where this game runs into a bit of problems, but it's no different than most children's games out there. They add a lot of randomness to it. There's a lot of imbalance, for lack of a better word, because it's a kid's game. They just want to play with little toys, and there's objectives. There's little objective books that allow you to see what the different missions you're going on are. Which I think adds a lot of fun to the game and adds merit, for why you're doing these different activities. But sometimes it seemed a little bit imbalanced. So the first and second missions, you're trying to capture the other person's pet, but it seemed to be that whoever went first usually would win. But then in the third and subsequent missions, it's much more strategic. But as a 7-year-old, I don't know how much that matters. But either way, I gave it 1 point out of 2 just because of that imbalance. Again, go ahead and bolster the different ranges based on what you want, depending upon your child. I can't imagine a 7-year-old's going to say, this game is so imbalanced. Table flip. I don't think that would happen. So I gave it 1 out of 2. What do you think, Brian?
Counterpoint, I'm going to let you maybe get that half point back that you wanted for the look and feel. I think it deserves a bit more, partially because in those first rounds, it is very lucky. It comes down to die rolling and who goes first. In much later rounds, once you start trying to collect items, once you are in fighting, then you have to make the choice, do I spend some of my commas to regain health? I mean, it adds a lot more strategy.
Right.
But then also, I think for a younger audience, if you want to play with your Candyland example, that's draw a card, move to that color.
Right, there's no choices.
This is much more choices than that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's much more engaging than what you would argue standard children play. So I think it warrants 1.5.
All right. What do you think about pacing in this game, Ryan?
I think for pacing, this game deserves full marks, 1 out of 1. Very quick turns. I mean, you have a speed of 3, so you're going fairly quickly. There aren't a whole ton of options, and it's constant engagement.
In addition to that, there's a whole lot of extra little bits in this game that people could be playing with, you know. I mean, if your kid doesn't like to focus on a game for too long, maybe they're playing with their little figures. As long as you remember where they were, they can do that. You know, there's lots of little cards with awesome artwork. I mean, their attention could be all over the place and still be into the game.
Yeah.
So full marks. Theme and mechanics, I give it full marks out of that as well, 2 out of 2. I would say the game's very immersive. I wish I understood the backstory of all the figures a little bit more, but I can tell that there is a backstory. Each of us have a name, a pet, special abilities. It came with extra cards here to incorporate into Arena universe. I don't know a whole lot about that universe, but I know it exists. I feel like if I wanted to delve into that, I'm sure I could understand their backstory or what have you. So I gave it full marks, 2 out of 2. What do you think, Brian?
I think I can agree with that. There were some aspects of, you know, why am I trying to capture this other guy's pet? You know, why were my pets captured in cannibal cages? That's what they are called.
With a K.
With a K.
So it's totally different.
But so I mean, there is some questions, but I think that some of the looseness is great for kids. I know, especially me as a child, I would be coming up with my own backstory on why that happens. I would probably also rename my characters and their pets. But I think that's really cool that they allow some imagination to enter into that in those degrees. So I think I can agree with full marks for that.
Alrighty. What would you say about the ease to learn in this game?
I gave it full marks for ease to learn. It's very basic, very simple. The journey or the adventures, each adventure takes 5 to 15 minutes, and you read very simple instructions. You have this much movement, you have this many action points, you can do this with those action points. It's very simple, and it's designed, you know, so that kids can pick it up quickly.
So replayability is a tough one on this, because I think children could play it numerous times, but as an adult, I think it would kind of wear thin.
Yeah.
But the game wasn't made for adults. So I gave it 1 out of 2 for that reason. What'd you think?
I would definitely agree with that. As the parent, guardian, friend, and uncle babysitter playing this with the child, you know, after so many times, it will become obvious that you can win. And so there's a point where you have to play to their level, so to speak. Say, you know, I know this perfect strategy, but I was going to do some silly stuff to have fun and to give them more of a chance. But for a kid amongst their friends, I think it'd be very replayable. I know, and we were mentioning, you know, some children, you know, they'll watch the same movie repeatedly because they love it, and I could see them playing the same missions repeatedly because they love them. But then also, I know a lot of kids, you know, this opens that door. I mentioned earlier that creativity aspect. They can then say, ooh, let's create our own missions. You know, and maybe that can be something, you know, as an adult, you could encourage them to do. Like, hey, how about you make a mission on this board, and then we'll play it later. You know, I think that's something that aids to that replayability, but again, much more for children than for the adults playing with them. So I think 1 is a valid score for that.
So we gave an 8. Again, that's from the viewpoint of the 7-year-old mindset. If you're an adult, I would imagine the score would be a little bit lower. But again, you're probably buying this game for a child. So I would definitely check this out if you have a child in the 7 to 12-year-old market, I would say.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.